Welcome to another episode of InRange. I'm here to talk to you today about the DesertTech Quattro. The Quattro is a new lower that was just released to the market by them, specifically to take these magazines that they developed. These are 53 round magazines that are quad stack from top to bottom. We're going to get to that more in a minute. This lower will mate with any traditional AR-15 upper. In this instance, I have an HK416 MR556 upper on this. I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. But any AR-15 you have, you could take the upper off your current lower, put it on the Quattro, and up your standard capacity from 30 rounds per magazine to 53 rounds per magazine. And there's been a lot of things that have tried to up the capacity of the individual soldier and AR-15 M16 on the market before this. We have here a Surefire magazine. This is a 60 round magazine by Surefire, and it's quad stack until it isn't. Quad, then double stack. And I have had some success with these. There is some sort of magic ritual when you're loading it, the litany of making sure that the machine spirit is pleased when you're feeding this. I don't know how to explain that any other way, but I've had these work and I've had them not work. And every time they have failed, for me at least, it seems to have something to do with the transition from the quad stack to the double stack. So right about here on the magazine is when things get wonky. And interestingly, the more violently you shoot the gun, the more this seems to work, and almost like it rattles, and it helps it feed, and it helps it transition from this quad stack to double stack. So these have not seen wide adoption, and I have not seen a lot of people using them, and they have been mostly unsuccessful. And we saw the Russians try to do this as well with their quad stack magazine. Same idea, quad stack to double stack so that it would fit into a standard AK, and they also have sort of given up on that. Also, of course, Magpul has their D60 drum. This thing is a behemoth, and these work very well and are reliable until they're not. When they fail quite significantly. In fact, I have one of these that's still jammed up from years ago that I haven't really had the patience to take apart and try to figure out what's going on in there. That sounds like a musical instrument. And of course, they're weird. You got to load them with a ratcheting system and put one at a time, slow to load. And it takes up a lot of real estate on your person. So for 60 rounds, maybe one in the gun, doesn't matter. But if you want to carry a spare one, you pretty much have to have specialized load-bearing equipment just to carry one more drum of 60 rounds. Put that away there. And so one of the problems we've seen is maybe even when you think about like the IAR M27 project, where the military switched away from the belt-fed M249 saw to the HK416 in a light machine gun support role, they went to a magazine-fed gun. And of course, in doing so, they depreciated the capacity from a belt-fed to 30-round magazines. And this is where something like the Quattro would obviously really apply. You literally pop the upper onto a Quattro, you've gone from 30 to 60 rounds. Additionally, when we look at things like the closest equivalent to this, the Surefire magazine, you'll see that the Quattro is much shorter in overall length than this Surefire D60, which matters in situations like prone, but also in your load-bearing gear. The Quattro magazines do fit into a standard double magazine pouch, so any pouch that will take two 30-round AR magazines will take one Quattro. Just slides right in, and there's nothing weird about it. Just pop it in, close the lid, or whatever your retention system is, and you're good to go. So, of course, you could carry 4 of these, and you would be doing quite well for yourself in terms of having less magazine changes and having more ammunition in the gun should you need it right then and now. Additionally, unlike the Surefire, for example, it is quad stack from bottom to top. There is not this transition from quad stack to double stack, and I have found that as a result to be a much more reliable magazine design. And that's something we haven't seen people do. This is something that's special that DesertTech has brought to the market, and we didn't really see the Russians try to do that either when they gave up on their quad stack magazines. The difference, of course, means is that you have to use their specialized lower to be able to use these special 53-round magazines. Now, DesertTech does provide, and you can purchase a little clamshell that snaps into the magwell of your Quattro. Should you want to use standard USGI or traditional 30-round magazines, you can just snap that in. It's very easy to do, and at that point, you can use standard 30-round magazines. So if you have a Quattro lower and don't have any of these 53s with you, or want to transition to regular 30-round magazines, you can do so easily by just carrying this little accessory in a pouch and convert your gun from one magazine type to another. Let's compare these directly. The Surefire to the Quattro. The Quattro is a much closer to standard 30-round magazine length, therefore much more compatible with most of your load-bearing gear. Also, if you've ever loaded one of these Surefire 60s, as you start getting to the end of the magazine, they start getting to be quite difficult to actually insert the cartridges. So let's go ahead and load up this Quattro, and we will see that this does not have that same problem. So, all right, we've got 20 in there. Okay, we've got 40 in there. $49, $50, $51, $52, and $53. Now, it did get a little stiff near the end for the last like 5, but compared to the Surefire, this was easy. So as I said earlier, this will mate with any standard AR-15 upper. You see it's got a quick detach sling mount here, standard safety, ambidextrous bolt release, bolt catch on both sides. Nice feature. And ambi magazine release as well, which is also a nice feature. So you can see the mag well is large, and if you wanted to insert a standard 30 round magazine, there's a clamshell that can do that, but otherwise you use the 53 round magazines. Let's go shoot. Dump the mag, right? Yeah, dump the mag. Wow, look at all that dust. Woo, that's a workout for your trigger finger. And as you can see, it worked flawlessly and the bolt locked back. What else could you really ask for? Well, it works as advertised. Now, I've dumped a bunch more mags than the one you just saw in the video to make sure this thing is reliable, and it is. I've had 0 issues with this Quattro or any of the 53 round magazines. They've just worked. Put the ammunition in, seat it, chamber it, and fire until you're empty. Locks back, just like a 30 round mag would, but with 23 more rounds on board. And they fit into a standard load bearing vest, and they are not unwieldy, unlike the Surefire 60s, which sometimes jam, and of course the D60s, which are super unwieldy. So if you think you need more capacity or want more capacity, or frankly, I'd love to see this idea catch on for the IAR program, the M27, because if you're going from belt feds to magazines, I think you want as many rounds in that magazine as possible. And the reality is you don't really give up anything if you go with a Quattro lower, because you can pop in the little clamshell and boom, you're good to go for 30 round magazines too. Now, I do need to say that DesertTech did send me this lower to do this review for you, so I did not buy this directly, nor did I buy these 2 magazines. However, all the ammunition I spent was provided via viewers like you, via patreon.com/InRangeTV. We know this content isn't going to be monetized. I mean, high capacity magazines, right? So if you want to support this kind of independent content creation and honest reviews, please consider supporting me. Patreon.com/InRangeTV. If you can't, I understand. Just share with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and you can do your part to help promote this channel and these reviews. Also, DesertTech, cool job. You know what I would like to see? I'd love to see this on the MDR. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm not saying they're going to do that. I'm just saying seeing this on the MDR would be a really neat situation, as well as perhaps maybe other manufacturers will license this, because it would be awesome to see more adoption of this in the market. Works well, fits all your standard gear, and you get 23 more rounds per magazine. What's wrong with that? Guys, thanks for watching. Share, subscribe, support if you can. Appreciate you.